Hello everyone, my name is Pixlriffs and welcome back to the Minecraft Survival Guide. I hope you guys are having a good day. Today we're gonna go on a bit of a quest. There are some flowers to pick. Those might have sounded like two very weird sentences to put side by side, but there are some new flowers in the game and a couple of them are a little bit more difficult to acquire. We've already seen one of them in previous episodes. We have a bunch of it growing on the plains biomes now and being able to bone meal plains biomes. We get ourselves a new blue flower called the cornflower. I should be able to generate a couple of them around here, so just give me a couple of seconds to break down some bone meal and we should be able to see them. Looks like we haven't got one here. Let's try one more time. Yeah, sometimes it can be a little bit time consuming to get them to show up because yeah, the plains biomes can actually generate quite a lot of flowers. Fourth or fifth time lucky, there we go, we got a cornflower. These new blue cornflowers can be used to make blue dye, along with lapis lazuli. They are a great source of blue dye in the early game especially. But there are some other flowers that have been added in 1.14, which I don't think we've really explored in any great detail yet. And in search of one of those, I have come out here to the incredibly colourful flower forest biome. As you can see, flowers of almost every kind can be found here, but there's one flower we're looking for in particular, and hopefully I haven't generated this particular biome in a previous update, because what we're looking for is Lily of the Valley. Yes, there we go. You can find these in all kinds of forests through natural generation, but it is only in flower forests that they are able to be renewable. You will only get them from bone mealing the ground in a flower forest. And obviously right now you're going to get a lot of other flowers growing and a lot of other grass growing as well. But hopefully by bone mealing the forest floor here, we should be able to reproduce some Lily of the Valley. Now, it is an interesting characteristic of flower forests that they will basically always generate flowers in the same patterns. So you can see around here there's a lot of azure bluets growing here. If I take a bunch of those away and then bone meal the ground again, I'm guaranteed in the random spawns of things where it stops spawning grass and spawns a flower to get an azure bluet in the same location. So what we really want to do is find a spot like this that works for Lily of the Valley. And note that it's not always going to be the flower that generates there on world generation that basically is the one that you can continue to farm here through bone meal. In fact, I need to get rid of a bit more of the grass around here. There we go. As you can see, there's like a stripe of the azure bluet flower here. What we're looking for is an area that has a stripe of Lily of the Valley. And while there are a few of them growing around the place, it's not guaranteed that that's going to be the same spot that they will grow permanently. This hillside has quite a few, for example, so let's try bone mealing here a couple of times to see if we get any more Lily of the Valley. It's kind of difficult to bone meal on the cliffs here, but that one, I think, just generated a fresh cornflower. This patch down here that has generated a bunch of lilies. Yep, okay, that's going to generate more lilies. Fantastic. Okay, so it looks like we will be able to get a few more Lily of the Valley if we keep farming in this patch in particular. And these can be broken down to get white dye, which is exactly the same thing you now get from breaking down bone meal even further in a crafting table. And you'll notice that bone meal can no longer be used to dye anything directly. You have to convert stuff into white dye and then use the white dye itself to dye the item in particular. So I now have a white shulker box, I guess. And it's getting dark right now, so I'm probably going to head back to the farmhouse, but I'm going to take the coordinates of this place because we'll be back here at some point to establish a permanent flower farm. Unfortunately, the last new flower is a lot more dangerous to acquire, and it's going to mean summoning a wither. That's right. In order to get this flower, we're going to have to summon the wither. So I'm going to have to get myself a few more wither skeleton skulls, presuming, of course, that the wither skeleton farm here is still going to function as it normally would. Let's hope that the hostile mob spawns here in the nether haven't completely diminished, because it's not looking too great right now. Oh, no, there we go. Okay, we have some wither skeletons. Now, there is still a problem with blazes aggroing on a player through transparent blocks, especially if they are hit or if another blaze from outside spots you. It's basically curtains. But it looks like those two are ignoring me, which is fantastic. Hopefully we should get a few more wither skeletons in here. And I think I have a few skulls around, so if we don't get too many wither skeleton skull drops today, we can always use the backup ones, but I'd like to get a few more because we might as well. The good news is that the wither skeletons themselves seem to be following the same walking pattern they had before, so there doesn't seem to be any need to update the design of the wither farm just yet. Although, having said that, we might end up making a few adjustments to it in future just to streamline the entire thing and make it less of a walking exercise and a bit more of an efficient farm. But that is looking at the far future right now. For the moment, this wither skeleton farm doesn't seem to have any major issues. Although it might need a little bit more optimization, as I'm really not noticing a great deal of spawns inside the farm right now. In fact, the entire nether seems to be a little bit quieter than usual, give or take the occasional ghast intrusion. I've logged in and out of the world a couple of times to see if that resolves it. I know that there is a problem right now that if you travel into the nether, a lot of hostile mobs will get stuck in your spawn chunks if they've spawned there, and they will kind of take up the mob cap, but normally logging in and out resolves that problem. No worries for now though, because I have some backup wither skeleton skulls in here as well as the ones that I have in my ender chest, so I think we'll just stick with those for now. Maybe kill a couple of these guys who are hanging out on the peripheries of the farm if we can. Excuse me, sir, can I interest you in getting your head chopped off? You can interest me in getting withered, I suppose. Oh, there we go. Nope, looks like we didn't get a wither skeleton skull from that guy. Never mind, just let me heal up any moment now, please. See, there's like 3 pigmen spawning in the farm right now. What is this? Anyway, not to worry, we've got what we need, and I was about to fall into the lava, but luckily, got my elytra on me. Let's head back to the overworld, find a nice quiet place, and spawn a wither. Now, as with any other wither fight, I'm taking a whole bunch of precautions here. I've got myself a decent set of armor. I've got basically the armor that I use every day, but with a chest plate instead of the elytra, so we can have as much protection as possible without applying the extra blast protection enchantments, which is definitely something we're going to do in a future episode, but for now I think protection 4 will be okay. I've also got some regen, some instant health, and a strength 2 potion, my smite 5 sword, and some backup other gear so that I don't have to worry about losing any of my more important stuff. Got a couple of golden apples just in case for the regen effect, and unusually for this wither fight, I have brought a whole bunch of mobs with me. In fact, as we come down this corridor, you will spot the chickens, the baby chickens right now, and hopefully I'm going to have to wait until they grow up into adult chickens, but hopefully these guys are going to provide us with what we need. They are essentially sacrifices to the wither for this fight, because the way we get the 3rd new flower in Minecraft, the wither rose, is by having the wither kill a mob. Now, unfortunately, or perhaps fortunately, it doesn't work with baby animals. So I've tried this a couple of times in a creative test world, and the wither rose will not spawn if the wither kills a baby chicken. So we're going to wait for each of these to grow up. I'm actually going to block the corridor off like here, just to make sure that they don't escape from this area, because ideally we want them to be caught in the wither's initial attacks and then overlooked in favor of the wither coming towards me. Because the problem is, whenever a wither attacks a mob, it will actually plant the flower or drop the flower on the floor if it can't plant it, if the surface isn't suitable for planting. For example, if it's on grass, it will plant a flower. If it's on netherrack, it will actually plant the wither rose. However, unfortunately, it can't be planted on stone or other blocks that you wouldn't expect to plant flowers on in the first place. So what that means is the flower will drop as an item, and as you guys might know if you've fought the wither before, it has a habit of destroying items. A lot of the wither's attacks are explosive, and they will obliterate any item entities which are hanging around on the floor. So we could probably expect a lot of those flowers to be destroyed if the wither doesn't want to attack me. If it goes after each of the chickens and just starts fireballing all of them, it might be a little bit difficult to acquire these wither roses. However, with this amount of chickens in here, this was about 7 stacks of eggs that I threw. Hopefully we should get 1 or 2 wither roses, and then I can demonstrate exactly what it is they do. But for now, I'm going to wait around for these chickens to grow up, and I'll come back when they're ready. Okay, folks, the moment of truth has arrived. I'm just having a little team huddle with the chickens here. I'm going to try and push a few of them out into the tunnel a little bit as well, because I don't want each one of these to be caught in the blast radius. Maybe I could, oh yeah, that'll stir them up a little bit, wash them away slightly. But yeah, if we push a few back into the tunnel over here, then maybe if the wither ends up fireballing a bunch of the mobs right here at the beginning, maybe we will end up getting a few wither roses from the ones further back. So I think the only thing that is really left to do is to spawn the wither and see how we do. Wish me luck, folks. This is going to be one heck of a crazy ride, but hopefully we will get a few wither roses out of this experiment. I'm going to go ahead and predict that we will probably get a whole lot of feathers and raw chicken out of this as well, so here we go. Moment of truth time. Let's get this show on the road. Okay, there we go. It looks like we already have a few wither roses on the ground. Let me see if I can take the wither out from a distance first. We're using the same old strat as always, but of course, we're on hard mode now, and it's a little bit trickier than before. I can already see the ground is littered with chickens. Oh my goodness, right. I'm going to take a golden apple here to get that regen effect. A little bit of absorption as well. Coming quick with the smite sword. It's going crazy at the entrance to the tunnel here, but nope, that's it. Fight over. And yep, looks like we are getting ourselves a few wither roses out of this bargain. Very, very good. I blocked up a mine shaft at the end here because I was really worried the wither was just going to go the other way. But nope, looks like we made it, folks. Looks like we made it. And I got 18 wither roses from that. That was a dangerous experiment, but it looks like it paid off. Am I still withered? For how long? Gosh, okay, yeah, gonna have to counteract this with some proper regen, I think. There we go. Splash that instant health. Splash that regen too. Let's get rid of the wither effect. And nailed it. We got another star for that as well. Of course. Can't ignore that. But wow, yeah, 20 chickens died and we got 20 wither roses back. So I don't think these wither roses are actually blast proof. So I'm pretty sure we just got really lucky with the wither's fireballs. It did raise up by a couple of blocks. So I think maybe that prevented it from fireballing stuff that was on the ground. That went about as well as could have been expected. And we managed to get ourselves 20 wither roses. Fantastic. So let's go home and explore the properties of these fascinating new flowers. So much like other flowers and much as you might expect, the wither rose can be planted on grass or any of the dirt variants. You'll notice it's giving off a sort of smoke-like particle effect when we plant it there as well, and you can also be planted on both netherrack and soul sand. So if you're into decorating stuff in the nether, it might actually be a fun idea to use the wither rose to decorate a nether landscape. Although, you might not want it to be a landscape that you end up walking through as a player, because one of the side effects of the wither rose is that it has thorns, and those thorns will prick you as you walk through it and apply a very, very short wither effect. Only like a 2-second wither effect, but that also applies to mobs as well as players. And a fascinating thing about the wither rose is that it does not block mobs from spawning. Much like other flowers, mobs can still spawn in tall grass, mobs can still spawn in a field of sunflowers, and mobs can spawn on terrain that has wither roses planted on it. So effectively, because you can actually wither these mobs, you can use them as a kill mechanism in hostile mob farms. It might even be possible to use them in an iron farm, although it would take a long while to kill the iron golems. I'm pretty sure they can be withered, though. If I put a wither rose on the block with this chicken, there you go. It contracts the wither effect immediately and dies. According to the Minecraft wiki, no mobs are immune to wither, although witches have a high resistance to it. Now, I haven't done a great deal of testing on this myself, but I'm fairly certain as of this update, wither skeletons have been made immune to the wither effect. And obviously in the past, it's not really been very easy to test the effects of wither on other mobs, because the only thing that could be attacked by the wither effect would be stuff that was attacked by the wither, which is a slightly volatile situation to test. But now we have wither roses, it should be more possible to use this in killing mechanisms. And if wither skeletons are immune but other nether mobs are not immune, then it is a way of sorting wither skeletons from other mobs, and perhaps even improving the efficiency of a wither skeleton farm to plant wither roses on blocks that could spawn nether fortress mobs and have the rest of them be taken care of by the wither effect, and have the wither skeletons filtered out that way. In fact, I think a few people, including Logical Geek Boy, have already come up with designs that use this very mechanic, so worth checking out and potentially something that we can use in the future of this series. For today, though, I actually wanted to get hold of wither roses so we can explore a brand new foodstuff that has been brought to this version of Minecraft, and that is Suspicious Stew. As the name suggests, Suspicious Stew is made in much the same way that mushroom stew is. So the first first thing we're going to need is a few wooden bowls and some mushrooms. We'll also need flowers for this because you can actually make suspicious stew with flowers. They are a necessary ingredient. So let's grab some mushrooms from here. Let's grab a brown and a red because each mushroom stew needs a brown and a red. And let's get a few of the flowers that we have gathered. That was an eerie noise. Let's get a few of the flowers that we have gathered from our excursions elsewhere. We'll grab the lily of the valley that we got today as well. The cornflower, the lily of the valley, the blue orchid. We are missing an allium. Oh, okay. I don't know if I have any of those around town. We might have to take a very quick trip back to the flower forest for those. Okay, here we are back at the flower forest, and as you can see, alliums are plentiful around here. That's really the first time I've picked up an allium? Gosh, could not have called that. I thought we got them beforehand. No worries though, we'll grab a few while we're here and then head back to the farmhouse. There we go. In total, there are 10 flowers that can be used to make suspicious stew. A lily of the valley, a cornflower, a blue orchid, oxeye daisy, allium, azure bluet, poppies, any of the tulips, doesn't matter which color, a dandelion, and the wither rose, along with 2 mushrooms and a bowl for the soup. So let's make a couple of these and see exactly what they do, because each time you make a suspicious stew in any kind of crafting recipe, doesn't really matter where you put the ingredients in the crafting interface, you'll end up with a suspicious stew icon that doesn't tell you what the potion effect is. So when you eat it, as long as you've kept track of which one you used to make it, then you should have no problem. But if you give that to somebody else gives suspicious stew to you, or you find it as loot, because it is now possible to find suspicious stew in shipwrecks as loot, you're not going to know what the effects are. So it can be a bit of a lottery, whether you get wither, you get speed, you get all kinds of different status effects from these. And none of them are new, all of them are status effects that existed in the game before in one way or another, but it's going to be interesting trying each of these out. So we're going to start with the positive effects. Let's start by making one with an oxeye daisy. Now, suspicious stew will restore the same amount of hearts and saturation points as your average bowl of mushroom stew will. So it's actually quite an effective foodstuff, and as such, I will need to drop a few hearts and drop a few hunger points before I can even eat the stuff. So how about we do a little bit of jumping around, heal up my health a little bit there. There we go. Now, by eating this with the oxeye daisy stew, you're going to get about 7 seconds of regeneration. So that's actually a very positive effect to have. It's kind of nice to have a little bit of extra regeneration. It's a very short duration, though. It's much shorter than the average regeneration potion, and it's going to be much less effective than Regen 2, which is the highest potion effect that you can have. So yeah, not necessarily going to be a lifesaver in most situations, but it's certainly going to be a little bit more pleasant than some of the other effects you might see. Making suspicious stew with a cornflower has a different effect. So these aren't all going to be regeneration, and depending on the flower, you can get some very different effects. I'll just fly myself into the hillside over here, hopefully drop a couple more hunger points, but remember that saturation bonus is going to mean that we will stay full for a little while. There we go, enough healing, enough jumping around. I'm ready to eat another one. This is the cornflower one, and that gives you 5 seconds of jump boost, which obviously won't save me from any fall damage, but gives you that extra jump boost kick. Of course, only lasting for 5 seconds, it really doesn't stick around for long. Since we went to the trouble of getting that allium, may as well do that one next, because a suspicious stew made with an allium could actually save your life in the right circumstances. That gives us 3 seconds of fire resistance. And I don't know if you want to carry suspicious stew around with you, but in the event that you drop into lava for a couple of seconds, just a single lava block in a cave or something like that, that could be all the fire resistance you need. Still a bit of a gamble whether you take it with you in the first place, and considering that a suspicious stew, like other stews, does not stack, then it's really not going to be worth it for the most part, but again, still a more pleasant effect than some of the others you could get here. Moving on to suspicious stew crafted with a poppy, and that means I'm going to have to get hungry again. When made with a poppy, suspicious stew is going to give you a 5-second burst of speed 1. So if you need a little bit of extra running juice, that is worthwhile. It's also worth noting that while the potion effects don't last very long, they still give you the benefits of being able to restore hunger and saturation. So that kind of tips the scales in their favor. Last of all, a suspicious stew crafted with a dandelion or a suspicious stew crafted with a blue orchid will both have the same effect, and that is to give you 0.3 seconds of saturation. It's such a short effect that it barely lasts there on the screen. You could barely see the potion's HUD blink into view and then disappear. I'll do that one more time just because it was a very, very short effect and because I have 2 of these stews now. Funny how flinging myself into the scenery around here never gets old. Okay, blink and you'll miss it, folks. Watch the top right corner of the screen. Watch the particles that come off my player model. Boom, there it is, and it's gone. And that was saturation. Enjoy. Now we move on to the final 4 flowers in the set, and of course these are the ones that are going to be producing more negative status effects. So let's start off with the Lily of the Valley Suspicious Stew. Again, no indication whatsoever that this has a specific effect. It looks exactly the same as the sprite that we've seen for all of the other stews, but this one has a more deadly effect. Well, if not actually deadly, then at least somewhat damaging, because Lily of the Valley Suspicious Stew will give you 11 seconds of the poison effect. Not necessarily something you want out of a foodstuff, so maybe best avoided, but perhaps quite useful when given to your enemies. In a similar vein, but slightly less damaging, Suspicious Stew crafted with any of the tulip colors will give you some weakness effect for 8 seconds, which, once again, if one of your enemies eats it, could mean the difference between victory and defeat for them. Although, considering the restorative properties stew has in terms of hunger, maybe it could mean the difference between them regenerating health or not, so might be a consideration there. Next up, we will have the Azure Bluette Suspicious Stew, which has added in an effect which was not previously obtainable in survival, and that is blindness, which is pretty scary to have, let me tell you. If you have blindness and night vision at the same time, it's actually not possible to see anything. Your entire vision goes blank. Those two were kind of considered the reverse of each other, but blindness has not previously been an effect that it's possible to get in survival, until Suspicious Stew came along. And finally, there are no prizes for guessing the effect that a Wither Rose has on Suspicious Stew. Yes, it gives you the wither effect. I'm going to show this on camera just so that you guys see it for real and know that it exists, but I might regret that because of the amount of health I have right now. Alright, we'll give it a go. Go right ahead. There we go. We have 7 seconds of wither now. Are you happy? Are you satisfied? You seen the effect happen? Well, that is that. That is Suspicious Stew all wrapped up, and at least now you know how to get hold of Wither Roses. You could always use this to prank your server mates, to have them eat some Suspicious Stew that's going to give them 7 seconds of Wither. As you can see, it's not really going to go the whole way and kill somebody a lot of the time, because the hunger it restores, it still actually gives you that back, so it improves your chances of having some natural regeneration thrown into the mix. But it's kind of fun to give people the wither effect every now and again without them, you know, actually spawning a wither in their base or something. So I hope you have enjoyed this look at Suspicious Stew, and while we're at it, we might as well check where we are with the balanced diet advancement now, because once again, having eaten the berries that we found in the tiger biome and having eaten Suspicious Stew, we are 1 item away from completing the balanced diet advancement, and that is an enchanted golden apple, which, you may remember, I actually went and found in a desert temple on a live stream previously. So that has been in my ender chest for a few episodes now, and I understand that a few people, a few eagle-eyed viewers have noticed that in the comments. So well done for spotting that. We are not going to eat it today. We're going to complete that advancement another time when we're going to do another roundup of some of the advancements we have here, like refinishing the breeding all the animals advancement, actually getting the serious dedication advancement, maybe even going around and taming a few cats while we can, and we still need to do Subspace Bubble as well. But for today, that is going to be it for this episode of the Minecraft Survival Guide. Thank you so much for watching. My name has been Pixlriffs. Don't forget to leave a like on this episode if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Bye for now.